Hi, class, and welcome to WEBD1104, where we're going to be looking at animating within Adobe Animate. Um, and I just wanted to do a quick hello, introduce myself, and also just run through a couple things and give you a few little tasks before you move on to the next video for this week. So this course is online for the time being, and I'm going to be posting every week new videos that run through an exercise. Now, I might not be creating a video for each exercise for that week, but I'm going to try and cover all of our bases at least. So I'll be covering maybe one of the more challenging exercises um, to get you going. I'm also going to be posting some quote unquote office hours where I will be available during the week for you to be able to ask me some questions, and I'll be choosing a time frame in the morning on one of the days and a time frame in the afternoon on another day of the week. So I'll post that in an announcement and send it out to you. And speaking of announcements, please check your email every day. It is the only way myself and your other professors have um, uh, excuse me. It's the only way that we're able to get a hold of you. Um, so please check your email, and you'll also see Blackboard announcements. Now, I'm going to be posting at least one announcement a week, basically, at the very least, telling you that this week's lessons are up and maybe giving you some special instructions for that. Now, I would love to run through the teaching and learning plan to get us started here. And then I'm going to do a quick tour of Animate. So you can feel free to follow along, open up Blackboard. And now, if you don't have Animate installed, you're going to want to install the Adobe Creative Cloud suite and get going on that. Okay, so let's just do a little introduction. So again, hello. My name's Joe Lipinski. On your transcript or on your course outline, it probably says Joseph Lipinski, but you guys can call me Joe. There are two professors teaching this course. I will be teaching the first 6 weeks, and Roberto Acosta will be teaching the last 6 weeks of the course. So you can see here in important information. So if you go to this course and then go to course documents, you'll see important information. And this has my contact, my email right here. When you click in, you'll see the teaching and learning plan. Let's just take a quick peek at that. All right, so here we go. We've got all the weeks laid out here, and you're going to see everything we're going to be covering week by week, as well as assignments. So this course is broken up into two major projects. So Project 1 and Project 2. Project 1 is 30% of your final grade. Project 2 is 35% of your final grade. And then we see these little in-class assignments, we're calling them. Okay, so we're not in class right now, but they are weekly assignments that will be due at the end of the week. So you're going to want to complete the exercises. Don't wait till the last minute to complete these exercises when during a week where there is an in-class assignment. So week 1, I'm going to give you a little extra time to complete that in-class assignment because some of you may not be looking at this until perhaps Friday. But hopefully you're looking at it sooner. And we're going to be having an in-class assignment this week. Basically getting you more comfortable with some simple animating techniques within Animate. And as you see, as the weeks go on, we'll be learning more timeline-based animation techniques. That's what we'll call it, linear animation. And at the end of these 6 weeks, your first project will be due, and I will be grading that project. Why am I saying that? Well, because remember, the last half of the course is being taught by Roberto, and he'll be marking these other 2 in-class assignments as well as the final project. So in the first 6 weeks, we're going to have an in-class assignment starting this week, then in week 3, then in week 5, and then our assignment is due at the end of week 6. Not our final assignment, but our first major project. And I will be posting that project this week in week 1. So you have plenty of time to look at it and start it. It is a fairly large project, so you're going to want to get cracking on it sooner than later. All right, what else can I say? I think we're good there. So that's our teaching and learning plan. And again, it's found in this important information area within course documents. Also in this area, I've provided you with instructions to download Adobe Creative Cloud for free. Also, because I'm posting videos, here's a link to the YouTube channel, which currently, because I'm creating a video right now, I don't have anything up there now, but this is what it will look like. WEBD1104 online tutorials. Now, when Roberto starts teaching in week 7, he will be dealing with these online tutorials a little differently. So, but you will still have access to my videos. All right, so let's just do a quick. I'm just going to give you a quick little tour of Animate. So I have fired up Animate 19.2.1, and this is the first screen that we see. Now, let's just take a look at this. So along the top are some categories for some templates that you can have access to, or presets they call them. And we live in the web world, so I clicked on web here at the top, and I can choose a preset. What it gives me here is a width and height in pixels, 640 by 480, and a frame rate, 24 frames per second, which is the frame rate that we'll be using for most of our exercises and assignments. 24 frames per second is also the frame rate of film and movies, well, most film and movies that you watch. Television, for those of you who don't know, the frame rate is 29.97 frames per second, or some people just say 30 frames per second. So it looks a little bit different. It's a little quicker. There's more frames within a second, so things look smoother. Anyway, so there you go. So I'm just going to click low here to get us going and create. And here is our what you're going to see when you create a new blank. Oh, I should have mentioned too that we are creating an HTML5 canvas. So if I go new again, just so you can see, platform type HTML5 canvas. There will be a few exercises we do where we will use the older format, ActionScript 3.0, just because it has a few other features that we don't get in HTML5 canvas. But for the most part, it's HTML5 canvas. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick tour And then I'm going to stop this recording and create a new recording for our exercise this week. All right, so this is our stage, this main area here, and I can control the size of this stage. So everything that's on this white box, this white stage, will be visible to the end user. In the upper right corner of this area, there you'll see this 100%. And I like to choose fit in window. And what that does is fit this frame. It will zoom it in or zoom it out so it fits within this area. So I can see the whole stage, and I'm not far away from it. I can see everything that's on the stage, and it will zoom in a little bit. So all of our objects will live on this stage. And I'll show you how to draw an object very shortly. Down here are two panels called the timeline panel and the output panel. Now, output will show us some warnings or errors when we export or publish. In Animate, it's called publish. When we publish our animation, it will give us a few warnings saying a few things. A common warning that we very often see are when it says, well, you're trying to do a few things in this animation that CSS3 and JavaScript might have trouble accomplishing and showing properly. So things might look a little different, the end result. So remember, we're building animation that will exist within an HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript platform. So all those three languages will work together to show our animation. So if we're trying to do something within our animation here that perhaps one, two, or three of those methods of code and languages cannot do, then our final animation within a browser may not look complete or finished. Okay, the other panel down here is very, very important. It is called the timeline. So we are building linear animations in the first 6 weeks of this course. That means we move through time. And when you look at this timeline, you see a whole bunch of numbers. These numbers represent frames. So remember, we're building an animation that's 24 frames per second. So this playhead here, now it's not going to move because I don't have anything on the timeline yet, but it's this red playhead. Let me zoom in here. This will move along when we hit play, and it will move through time. That is where the term linear comes from. Linear animation means we have a start and an end in time. And it will move along, and as it moves along, it will show whatever's in each of these frames. And you'll see along the top here, 1S stands for 1 second, 2 seconds, and so on. So 24 frames, we are at the 1 second mark. So that's what's going to happen when we hit play on our animation. We'll see everything on this stage moving, things will be happening, things will be changing, moving along, and then this playhead will be moving as well. On the right side, we have two very important panels that you're going to be switching between. One is our library. This is where all of our symbols and objects are going to live. And we'll learn more about symbols in today's exercise. Properties. This panel changes when depending on what we have selected. So if we select an object on the stage, the properties, this properties panel will change, and I'll show you that in a second. It also changes when I choose different tools here along in the tool panel on the right side. So as you can probably guess, this properties panel is very often open And the library, really, we go to it when we need to bring in some objects or import some objects into the library, like photographs or graphics or music or sound effects, things like that. It's all all that's gonna live in there. But properties very often is going to be open. So this is our tool along the far right. This is our toolbar, and it has all the important tools that we need. Now, as I move along within our exercises, I'll be teaching you how to use all these different tools. To the left of our properties panel here are some other panels that are important to us, like color-based panels, aligning, info, transform panel, so we can transform what an object looks like. We don't need motion presets, and we don't need this. So just these first 5 are really the most important: color, swatches, align, info, and transform. Now, if your Animate doesn't look like mine right now, you're saying to yourself, hey, my panels don't look like that. In the upper right corner, there's this drop down. For me, it says Essentials right now. And if you click it, you can choose what your layout is going to be. There is one for small screens. There's one for developers, designers, debugging. There's a classic. There's an animator. And I'm going to have Essentials open. Now, you may choose to choose a different layout. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to draw an object. So let's just draw a circle. So when I choose the oval tool here, I am now able to draw a circle. In the properties panel, you can choose the stroke color and the fill color. Now, you should have some experience with these terms already from your Photoshop class, or if you have any experience in Illustrator. So I'm going to choose a stroke of black and a fill color of red. And the stroke size is going to be 1 pixel. You know what? I'm going to make it, you can type in 5 pixels. All right. So I'm going to hold down Shift and draw a circle, and that creates a perfect circle. Now, I just want to show you a few things that are important to note when you are drawing things within Animate. And if you are watching this video and you haven't installed Animate and you're not following along, I suggest you pause the video and install Animate and follow along with me so you can be hands-on with this and see what I'm talking about. Because there's a few weird things. So let's just say I drew this circle. And you know, if you're using other software like Photoshop or Illustrator, you could change to the selection tool, which is the top solid black arrow in the toolbar, and you would be able to click and move this circle. But look what happens when you do it in Animate. Oh. The stroke doesn't go with it. It doesn't travel with it. This is a weird thing. This can frustrate some of you new users of Animate. I'm going to hit undo. If I want to move this whole circle, I have to draw a selection box around the whole thing, then move it. That's a little strange, but it's something you need to get used to, okay? Now, there's a couple cool aspects, a couple cool things. Look at this. This is pretty neat. A couple cool things you can do. I love the drawing tools in Animate. They do a lot of things that are harder to do in Illustrator or Photoshop. So, if you float over the edge of this circle, let's zoom in and see. Look at my cursor. Look how it changes. So I'm on the outside, I float over the stroke, and you get a little curve. That curve tells me I can click and drag and create a curve. Isn't that neat? I'm going to hit undo. And then when you go within the circle, it says I can click and drag and move, which I don't want to do right now. So have fun with that. That's kind of cool. Now, if I were to draw a rectangle, so I'm going to choose the rectangle tool and choose maybe a different color, blue. And draw a rectangle away from your first object here. Just going to draw a rectangle up here. And I'm going to zoom in a bit. And switch to my selection tool. So you can do the same thing with a rectangle. That's really neat. But because there are these 90-degree angles, look what happens when your cursor floats over the corner. That will keep a perfect corner, a perfect angle. So it's a little different compared to this curve. Cool, eh? Oops. Okay. So here's another important aspect. Let me just turn my notifications off here. Sorry about that. Okay. So right now, let's look at my timeline. I've got a layer. I'm just going to call it objects 1. All right. I've got 2 objects on this timeline. And let's just say I'm going to select the second object here. If I were to move this over top of my first object, look what happens. It cuts into that object. That means that first lima bean looking shape is now kind of destructed. It is this is some destructive editing I'm doing right now. And it will never be the same unless I hit undo. So what you want to do in Animate, when you're drawing more than one object on a layer, you really need to be careful. And what I recommend is drawing every object on its own layer. So I'm going to select this second object and hit Control X to cut it out. And then I'm going to create a new layer called Object 2 and paste it on that layer. And now when I put it over top of my first object, it won't destroy it. Okay, so I can't stress that enough, that when you're drawing within Animate, you need to draw every single object on its own individual layer. Okay, and when you get to a point where you're happy with the layout, then you can combine them all onto one layer. We're going to be doing some exercises where we'll be doing this. Okay, so don't worry, we'll be practicing this technique. And I should, while it's on my mind, show you how do I select this whole lima bean. How do I select it all? You click once on the layer name or the layer area in the timeline to select everything that's on that layer. Okay, so I'll deselect by clicking away. Then you click once this layer, that selects everything on it. Click the second layer, There you go. All right. So I think we'll leave it at that because we're going to look at how to convert these into symbols and how to animate objects like this within Animate in our next exercise. So I hope all this is helpful as a little introduction. And yeah, take a moment to review, and we can move on to our first major main exercise.